Boundaries and self-awareness go hand in hand. The reason that boundaries are so attractive is because it suggests a self, right? It suggests that a person knows who they are. They know where they begin and where they end. They know not to get so consumed by other people's energies, right? Because they are aware of their frame. That's really what it's all about. Boundaries are like a frame. When you think about it, because it's true, right? It doesn't matter what the piece of artwork is. Look at the frame. The frame is the lines where you can tell where something is in the inside and where it is or where it ends from the outside, right? Boundaries are attractive because it shows that a person is self-aware. They know who they are. They know what is them and what isn't them. They know where they begin and where they end. When people don't have boundaries, their energy is all over the place and they're tuned into everybody else, right? And even if those people aren't safe, they're still tuned into them. But this is, of course, what they learned in childhood for survival. The interesting thing here is that people that don't have boundaries, it's usually because they have a fractured ego state, right? Their sense of self is not fully formed. And not only is it not fully formed, but it's also very immature. And this usually is based around emotional immaturity, right? This is very much based around a lack of emotional understanding for the self and for other people. People that don't have boundaries tend to be much more on the side of disrespectful. But it's because they don't have a sense of self fully formed, right? This is going back to the fractured ego state. But people that do have boundaries are much more attractive because they are confident in their no's, right? When I say that, I mean, when they say no and everything, not in their nose. Or maybe they are, who knows? Who knows? But boundaries suggest that you know yourself because you do. Because if you have boundaries, you know what it is that you want and need. You know what to say no to. You know your likes and dislikes. You know where you begin. You know where you end. And you know what it is that has nothing to do with you, and you're not going to involve yourself in that. I have spent many years in my own personal life without boundaries. I've also spent many years around people who don't have boundaries. People who don't have boundaries, coming from the standpoint where I am now in this space of awareness along my journey of healing. Prior to this point, I looked at people that didn't have boundaries and I saw them in a very specific way. I actually related to them because I didn't have boundaries at that point. So I saw them and I was like, okay, that's normal. It's normal to feel like a doormat. It's normal to feel like I am limitless in what it is that I can do for people. When I say that, I mean have no limits. I think that it's more important to say have no limits than say limitless. Limitless suggests some superpower. Having no limits suggests that there's no end to, how you show up for people. Now, let me just say real quick, it's important to be kind, 100%. However, nice? No. Because niceness suggests, let me say that again. Niceness suggests permeability, right? It suggests that you maybe can say no, but that no is walked right over. Or maybe you just can't say no because how someone else sees you is how you see you. Codependency, right? Boundaries are attractive because it shows that the person has done enough work to see who they really are and to create a much more conscious sense of self for themselves. Self is very interesting because a lot of people, as a result of trauma, right, early on in life, they have that fractured ego state. And a lot of people actually just live their lives without that being healed. And what that usually results in is emotional immaturity. Boundarylessness is emotional immaturity. The emotional side of a person is absolutely crucial because if it's not there, think about it this way. Emotions, right? Energy and motion. Understanding your energy, knowing where your energy begins and where your energy ends. That's boundaries right there. right? One of the biggest reasons why emotional maturity is so important is because without it, you're not going to have boundaries. I mean, you might have other types of boundaries and stuff, but you're not going to have boundaries that really help you grow as a person and cultivate and maintain deep and meaningful relationships that are needed for life. This is just the reality of the matter. So the reason why boundaries are so attractive is because it displays that the person that has boundaries knows themselves, right? Sometimes it takes a lot for a person to say no. Sometimes it doesn't. Actually, if the more firm your boundaries are, the less challenging it will be for you to say no. And this actually goes back into the other video that I made the other day. Having anxiety around certain emotions, right? People actually have anxiety around saying no. They do because they know that in their past, when they said no or when they wanted to say no, they were obligated to be responsible for the way that somebody felt about them saying no. And of course, that in and of itself is a result of trauma earlier on in life, right? The only reason that a person would have anxiety around saying no is if they feel responsible for the other person's emotions. Not only that, also, but I know I said the only reason, but there are more than one reasons for this. The other reason would be that, again, codependency. How you see me is how I see me, right? And that, in and of itself, is going to pressure somebody to have either no boundaries or permeable boundaries, right? When you say no, but then you're like no, okay, fine. Like, where's the structure? Where's the foundation? You're not going to build a castle on that. You're not going to build an empire on that. You don't have what you need there. And this goes back to emotional immaturity. This usually goes back to very, I don't want to compare trauma, so I'm not going to do that. When somebody doesn't grow past what messed them up early on in life, right? Their trauma, that's usually what causes emotional immaturity. Because consider this, right? You got a tree, right? And you cut the tree off at a very low point, right? So then it's just going to grow outward instead of upward. Emotional maturity is growing upward, and emotional immaturity is just staying stuck there in the pain, in the trauma, what traumatized the person. That's the difference there. It's very interesting.